What's up, guys? It's Coach Gaglione here. This is another Gags Goals update. I'm your host, Coach Gaglione, and I've been involved with powerlifting and strength coaching for over 19 years. As we close out 2025, we enter 2026. We've got a couple of really cool milestones. 2026 will mark my 20th year as a competitive lifter and my 15th year in business with Gaglione Strength. So it'll be 2 decades coaching, 2 decades as a competitive lifter, 15 years as a business owner, if you will. And a lot has changed. A lot has kind of transpired in terms of my own athletic prowess, in terms of, it'd be my second year anniversary. My second year anniversary this month at our Milton location, 1 year anniversary in marriage. A lot of great milestones. So on this particular day, we're going to be watching some footage of our first Benching for Boobs fundraiser at Peak Fitness, local commercial gym. Great people, highly suggest it. It's 24-hour access, as well as classes, and just a great environment. They got good strength equipment. I use mostly the cardio equipment and the machines, but they got a lot of great stuff here, and we're really kind of building the community. You can kind of see we had little Bryn at 10 years old, and then we have, people, masters lifters that, this is Carol. She's only been lifting for a few months, and she was able to kind of jump in. So I wanted to kind of talk about the importance of supporting your local gyms, supporting local meets, single lift events, and charity meets in particular. So on this, for this particular weekend, we had, again, athletes from all walks of life, youth to masters, people that, like someone like Nick Curl ended up winning the contest with a 455-pound raw bench. People like myself, who's, been an elite power lifter for many years. I ended up doing an exhibition lift, you'll see, of 585 pounds in a bench shirt. Just wanted to kind of show people that. And, the whole kind of goal for this contest, outside of raising money for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, was having a platform to come together for a cause. One of the things I think is really important and kind of really miss out on is the community aspect of lifting. One of the things I kind of chatted about with Jim McD on the 50% Facts podcast was this kind of shift in powerlifting culture. It's something I'm really trying to harp on, something I'm really trying to kind of change the tides a bit. In the equipped lifting eras, it was very common for people to train in crews, all work under the same bar, all work under the same squat rack. Being very engaged, spotting each other, helping each other, supporting each other, cueing each other. And now a lot of these great powerlifting gyms, which is amazing. We have a lot more people, a lot more gyms have access to powerlifting equipment. A lot more people have access to barbells, great coaching. But one of the things that's really been upsetting to me is seeing lifters go in a gym, put their headphones on, and just go to the empty combo rack or wait for the combo rack. They just don't work with each other anymore. So we're trying to kind of, we're trying our best to kind of, again, change the tides, kind of bring more of the community together, whether that be for powerlifting, whether that be for unsanctioned events like this self, even just like simple things like it's okay to work in on the machine with somebody. It's okay to like offer someone a spot. It's okay to give someone some advice in all these different things. So, ask for help, giving out help, giving back. Again, these are just kind of things that we don't kind of see as much of. So like, again, on this particular day, we had moms, we had daughters, we had fathers, husbands, I would say, very elite lifters, seasoned lifters, gym bros, competitive strongman, local trainers, and everything in between. And it was just a really, really cool, just dynamic of lifters. So on this particular day, you'll kind of see we did a rising bar format. So like everyone kind of took the bar and kind of worked up until there was like a last man or last woman standing, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of see my wife. This is a little bit of a tune-up for her. She's recently, Katie's recently dropped about 20 pounds this year. So she went from the 165 class to the 148 pound weight class, and she's been kind of being able to maintain right around that, I guess that 67 and a half kind of kilo mark, around 150 pounds. So she can kind of make that with basically essentially no like kind of water manipulation or anything like that, just kind of maybe reducing carbs and water the night before. And then her and Bryn will be partaking in the USAPL state meet, which will be, a qualification for youth and masters nationals, which will be in Lombard, Illinois in 2026. So it's just really exciting to kind of see the community come together, our families kind of come together for this cause. We raised about $1,000 for Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And one thing I wanted to kind of highlight, I always try to highlight around Thanksgiving time. So I'm a little bit early this year, but just kind of was very fitting. So if you guys have been following me for a really long time, back in 2013, unfortunately, one of my good friends, Mike Jenkins, suddenly passed away. And it's Thanksgiving of 2013. I got the news from one of my old training partners, Anthony Vidal. And I really didn't know how to process the information at the time. What was really interesting, in my opinion, about Mike Jenkins, he was a larger-than-life character. He was around 390 pounds, but still relatively lean. He had veins in his arms and shoulders. He had some overhead press, and I believe he had a log lift and circus dumbbell American records. Very proficient at the yoke, and he was just a really good friend. He was one of the first people to kind of do seminars at Gaglione Strength HQ in Farmingdale. At the time when I opened, live seminars were very accessible and something that people appreciated. You don't kind of see that as much anymore with the advent of the internet and social media. Most people consume their information online. They don't do as much in-person learning anymore. They don't do as much in-person networking anymore. And there's certainly pros and cons to that, but I was very appreciative that someone like Mike Jenkins, I remember at the time when he was opening up, I'm not sure if it was, I don't think it was called CrossFit Gamma. It might have been called something different at the time. But I remember when he was starting his business, it might have been something athletics. Anyways, I'm having a little bit of a mental moment, but when he was starting his business, he at the time I was writing for T Nation, and I was getting a little bit more popular in terms of in the strength and conditioning world. And I was very honored and taken back that Mike Jenkins had kind of sought out advice for opening a gym, because I still, even to this day, I'm not the best in terms of business knowledge and stuff like that. But he saw that I was having successful results in our athletes. At the time, I was mostly training wrestlers. We just started getting into powerlifting and strength sports. We even actually had a few strongman competitors at the time. We were a little bit more of a general strength gym before we kind of switched over to more exclusively powerlifting, and now we're kind of powerlifting and strict roll primarily, but still a big emphasis on powerlifting as kind of the main training modality, and also the main kind of competitions that we offer. So he did a seminar at our gym, and one of the things I really loved about Mike Jenkins was how humble he was, how present he was with his time. Just a really great dude. So when he passed away, it was very, it always puts things in perspective for me, just in terms of what it means to be grateful, having gratitude, and especially now that I'm married, have a family that I'm kind of supporting, and I have multiple communities that are kind of counting on me to keep the lights on. Gaglione Strength Farmingdale in HQ, our quote-unquote Milton Muscle Club, Gaglione Strength Milton, and also starting kind of to build out communities at One Gen Gym with Larry Wheels. So now I will say that those people don't really kind of count on me per se, but I am feeling responsible to help kind of foster and help kind of get the events out, because I know with Larry specifically, he wants to give back more to the strength community. That's kind of how he got to start with all his all-time records. And it just feels really good to kind of be well connected to the community still after all these years. And we're definitely making a difference. So anyways, we were kind of slated to do so back in 2013, this is kind of when we were starting to run more competitions, and we kind of had a deadlift contest already kind of on our radar. We were looking to do a charity event. I think we were thinking about, so we were doing bench for boobs. I think we might have had our first bench for boobs already, or we were planning some charity events that were on our radar. And even though Mike Jenkins, this was actually a point of contention with some of his friends, but Mike Jenkins was not he wasn't really in love with the deadlift or anything. He was more, that was kind of something we ended up kind of putting the image of Mike running with a 1,000-pound yoke. He was very proficient at the yoke as well as overhead events on the shirt, as opposed to a picture of him deadlifting. That was kind of what we thought he would like to be remembered by, for his, not just his strength, but his athleticism at nearly 400 pounds body weight. So we ended up kind of putting this meet together called, Deadlifting for Jenkins. We did this at CrossFit Bastion, and what's really cool about the Bastion School of Fitness is we're actually returning back to the Bastion School of Fitness in 2026. So we're kind of bringing it back to Bastion and kind of coming full circle, because that was kind of our first really big contest. It was definitely unfortunate circumstances, but it ended up being a really amazing event. What was really kind of cool about that particular meet, outside of raising about $6,000 for the funeral costs of Mike Jenkins, we had 80 lifters from all different walks of life. We had CrossFitters join. We had a group from Training for Warriors, which is kind of like a boot camp style training that was founded by Martin Rooney. And we still have people to this day that are kind of involved in our community from that group. So we had CrossFitters, Training for Warriors, of course, raw and equipped powerlifters, male and female powerlifters, teachers, police officers. We had people like Joe Meglio. Joe Meglio is one of the most successful fitness entrepreneurs in the country. He's got over 10 gyms at this point. He had a PR of 650 pounds. We got people like my former intern, Eric Prush, who's very prominent in the fitness world as well. He did really well at that event. We had some strongman do the event. I think in like Eric Hubbard. I think he might have had one of the top lifts of the day. And a lot of those lifters also went on to be very prominent in powerlifting. You have people like Steve Lustarino is still around. He's total around 2,300 pounds as an equipped lifter, which is a very, very impressive total. So you got people that are kind of still around back all the way in 2013. So they're either still involved in fitness, still involved in lifting in some way. And again, for me, like what's one of the things that's not been my favorite things about the modern powerlifting, I felt like it's more kind of closed off and more fractured than ever. The most popular forms of lifting right now is raw, sleeves, drug tested, stiff bar, combo rack, more strict judging, check your underwear, have a certain length of socks. You can't compete anywhere but RFED. It's kind of like a Mean Girls Club, but for lifters, in my opinion. And this is not every single tested federation that we have. We love 100% Raw, for example. We have some good relationships with some people in the USAPL, not all, but some. We have great relationships with the new chairperson for USAPL Delaware. And we had a great time at USAPL Nationals. So I would say still overwhelmingly the people in powerlifting, it's more positive than not, but in terms of, I would say, and some of this might just be culture, some of this might be the youth and just not having experience, but I've seen it could be just the climate change of the generations, and maybe it's not just powerlifters, but I've definitely seen more of a sense of entitlement. I've seen more of you kind of can't sit with us type attitude with a lot of the younger lifters. They don't want to give back. They don't want to support their local gyms. They don't want to do meets that don't have fireworks and LED screens and walkout songs. They want everything special and catered towards them. And, on some level, I think, if you look at like a federation like ABS, where they're kind of putting on a production for some of the best lifters in not only in the country, but in the world, I think that kind of makes sense. But I don't think it really makes sense to have a super high like production value and high barrier of entry for like a local show, for example. I also don't like having a high barrier of entry in terms of being very stringent with rules, being very stringent with what equipment you can wear. So in RPS, for example, you could walk out your squats. The specialty bars are going to allow for better force transfer, which is going to help with safety. So having safety straps, using squat bars, using deadlift bars, using gopher bars for strict curl versus more traditional easy bars where you're more exposed. All these factors make it more accessible. There's going to be divisions and records for everyone. When you start to kind of really kind of get specialized and only offer one type of lifting, I think that's very good for competition. But in terms of like outside of like the sporting side of powerlifting, which is it's growing, but it's a very small section of people that actually squat, bench, and deadlift. Most people that squat, bench, and deadlift actually don't compete. But more and more people, even just outside of competitors, are getting involved with the barbell. They're understanding the importance of strength training. So having events like this, so RPS, I would say, is kind of like obviously a step up from just an unsanctioned event, because it's sanctioned. You can get your records in open powerlifting, and you have all these options from raw to equipped, raw with reps, bare knees, strict curl, single lift. So like, in my opinion, I think something like this is a really good stepping stone just to get involved in fitness. If you want to kind of add muscle mass, if you want to add strength, just doing a bench only competition like this, where you don't need a singlet, it's a very like low cost in terms of what you need, in terms of bandwidth, in terms of knowing the rules and all these sorts of things. So I think that's really important. So things like, that's why I've really kind of gravitated towards strict curl as well. You're not going to be there. So just as a quick side note, back in 2012, I believe, either 2012 or 2013, I hit my first 850-pound squat on that particular meet. Again, no shade there, just kind of like how things were at the time. I was deadlifting at midnight. I remember I was going for my first 600-pound deadlift at the time. I had successfully squatted 850 pounds, still one of my best squats to this day. It was kind of like a stars aligning day. Scott Mendelson was one of the judges. Scott Mendelson, if he was one of the most decorated benchers of all time. Records in both raw and equipped benching, 700-pound plus raw bench, 1,000-pound plus equipped bench. So that was a really cool moment for me. But yeah, we were done deadlifting at midnight, and so that's like not something where having events like that are really big, really drawn out, it's not going to be kind of good for the sport and kind of having people come back. So even a very well-run meet still might take anywhere from, I should say, not well-run, even a very fast meet is going to take anywhere from like 3 to 5 hours, especially when you kind of factor in like weigh-ins. And if you kind of factor in weigh-ins and awards and stuff like that, it's probably more like 5 to 7 hours. It's a long day, whereas a single lift event could be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, get in and get out. I think on this particular day, we started the contest at 12. We were kind of wrapped up with awards around 2 o'clock. And that was with me yapping. That was with me thanking our sponsors, and all these sorts of things. So those are just like things to consider. So at the end of the day, I guess what I'm trying to blabbing about, I think we need more events like this where you could support your local gyms, support your local charities, have a low barrier to entry, have things that are a little bit more fun. You don't need to worry about checking your underwear. You don't need to worry about all these crazy rules, and also just kind of being, there for hours and hours on end. A lot of people like myself, we have families, we're busy. And, although this is part of my business, so it is what it is, and I love it, but not everyone has the means to, spend 12 hours, plus travel and things like that. So that's kind of like another thing where I think it's really important that if you are a lifter, that you not only do like the really special meets, you also kind of come and support. And whether you lift at them or not, it's important. You go as a spectator, go volunteer your time. These events are really important for kind of building the community. So anyways, if you guys are in the Delaware area, please support Peak Fitness, and check out the rest of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.